Me and Sonia met a few weeks ago, actually in Canada, where you're based, at a natural products trade show. And I don't know how the conversation came up about PMDD, but
Mm.
I mean, I would just love to know, what's going on with you currently. We were talking about it a little bit before the call and just kind of our connection.
Yeah. Um, well, I was just saying to you, so I think when we first talked, I don't remember how it came up, but probably through Nature Mary and products and things like that. That's probably how it came up. And then it's weird because when you hear someone else has it, I think it's an instant connection. Like I don't think it takes like, you know what I mean? And I think that's probably why when I first talked to you, I was like, holy, like this is crazy. Like you completely understand what I'm going through because not many people really get it. And typically it's that comparison to PMS, which is so far from like the truth of what PMDD actually is. But yeah, just to tell you a little bit about my week, I'll start with my week and kind of tell you how that's kind of tied into being a woman and then with PMDD and running a business and then still trying to show up, and even for something like this where my brain was like, okay, we're talking about PMDD, so it's okay. Like it's fine. I don't have to prepare. I don't, it's gonna flow naturally. Um, but yeah, I'm in menopause. So I had my surgery about a year and a half ago where they took my ovaries and they took my fallopian tubes, but they decided to leave my uterus. And as a biologist and a neuroscientist, I had begged them and said, listen, like I know my body really well, and I know how sensitive um, I am to hormone fluctuations or not having them or whatever. And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't take my uterus. And so, of course, I go through this surgery, and life's been good since then. But as an anomaly and a total outlier to what, the physician knows, it's like I now cycle regularly, almost like a teenager.
Mhm.
And this is shocking to them.
So when you're talking about having, your cycle come regularly, it's not your period, right? But it's just all the hormonal cycle. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's like, it's so weird because I've been in full menopause for over a year.
Hmm.
And typically it's some intermittent bleeding or something it's expected. But for someone like me, where I had been on pre-surgical, like they had induced menopause with medication for a year. So technically I've been in full menopause for 2 years. Um, and we can't figure out why I'm cycling like a teenager. And the problem with that is like these PMDD symptoms are still in quite in my face. Like that's hasn't gone away. They just reduced from like weeks to now a couple of days. So I know that it's gonna happen. Like the physical and the mental anguish is just there. I literally am just getting over it like today. Like I'm able to drive. I was able to get dressed. I was able to put on some makeup. But yesterday, like if this was yesterday, there's no way I would have had to call you again, Val, and be like, I can't do it. Just
Yeah.
because, you're just so disconnected physically and mentally that even putting a sentence together is so hard.
Yeah. I don't think people
Yeah.
understand what it's like to also have to, be someone who runs a business and has a team and has to tell people like, I need a serious break for like 2 days. Or sometimes I'm on my phone
Yeah.
calls and I'm taking a walk because I'm like, if I sit, I'm going to start to spiral. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like you
Yeah.
cannot live your normal life. And I think that's how we started talking about PMDD. And also, so Sonia is the founder of Nature Mary. And I went up to your booth, and this is why we started talking because through your PMDD and the different experiences you've had, and especially through, the chronic pain that comes with PMDD that people usually don't talk about. I mean, like
Yeah.
chronic pain is something that you deal with when you have PMDD. For me, it's about 1 week a month where all of a sudden I feel 80 years old. And
Yeah.
so I know that that was something that you started to, you started to solve for. And as a scientist, I just thought, wow, like the way that you are putting together your product is so interesting. So please tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So I've been on this PMDD journey for about 25 years, maybe 27 now. So it's been a long time. And the more I understood it, the more, I mean, my options, I don't know for you, but I'm pretty severe on this spectrum. And so my options were like opioids and, medications that I was going to get addicted to very quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. I knew as a biologist that that is not something that I wanted to really get into. So yeah, I started really developing these products more for myself. And just this week, I actually used your Riff pads and the therapy together. Because I mean, like I said, I'm not supposed to be getting a period, but I am. So, and like together, like but the cramps were so bad. So yeah, so I felt like it was like this was just meant to happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. I can't wait
Uh,
till we're fully in Canada.
yeah, well, you know what? We'll definitely work together on some collaboration or something because I think I really believe in your product. Like, I've used it now. At first, when you first gave it to him, like, oh, I don't think I'll be using it that much, but it's like it came in handy this week.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's the same thing with your product.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that's topical. I've used CBD so much in the past, and for whatever reason, I forgot to use CBD for like the past few years. I ran out of whatever I was using, maybe in like 2023, and then I just haven't repurchased it.
Yeah.
So through our conversation and also getting some of your product, I was like, wait a minute, this is something that is so helpful. So how has it helped you, and how did you figure out that this was going to be your formulation?
Yeah. So my background is in sciatic nerve injuries and motor axon regeneration from the spinal cord. So I have base knowledge of how, pain signals work, really understanding the body, especially before and after injury. Um, in my case, however, with PMDD, these signals are so intense that I think that's why, even though you may have normal hormonal function, it's the response of the brain to the pain signals that is really the problem. So chronic pain being a part of PMDD symptoms is, I mean, it's like in your face, and it's to the point where it's debilitating. I don't know how bad you have it, but for me, I mean, even blinking hurts, and then it goes into anxiety for a couple of weeks. Like it's so bad. But when I started taking CBD as well. And CBD really changed my life and understanding how this specific system in the body, which is the endocannabinoid system, is accessed for pain and inflammation. And so when I discovered CBD, I was like, holy, like this stuff is amazing. So I started taking it. And at that time, because I really didn't have a choice, they had to put me through the regimen of Western medicine. And it was like, you have to take antidepressants. Like that was it. And so I remember saying to my doctor, like, I'm going to come off these antidepressants. Like, I don't think they're doing anything anyway. And again, I have to say this was with caution. That was my personal journey.
Yeah.
So what works for everybody's different. But what I know about the body and how these medications work, it just wasn't going to be a long-term solution. It was a band-aid for the
Mhm.
moment that was going to, in fact, make it worse for me, as I got older. Anyways, I discovered the endocannabinoid system and realized that we have this amazing system within us that's only accessed with cannabis and CBD. And so I went back to the drawing board and we started working with non-cannabis plant compounds that also access this system for chronic pain and inflammation. And that's really how Nature Mary came up with its formulations for 100% natural, accessing the system within the body, but with non-cannabis plant compounds.
Yeah.
So it works really well. Like it's a topical application. These receptors are all over your body. It's all about down regulating these pain signals. And so that's why the products work really well. It's really a new pathway to pain relief. And so with cramping and all of these things that we go through, and for me, like I said, it's head to toe. Like it's so painful that my joints hurt so bad. I mean, even it's like it's I can't even describe the pain. I think if I had to like 0 to 10 being like 10 being like you're passed out, like I'm probably at like a 15,
Yeah.
like that close to just being like, okay, but I think our pain tolerance gets really high
It does. I
when you
think
have
people with
something.
PMDD have higher pain tolerance because we're just so
Yeah.
used to it. It becomes so normal. I remember one time I had like a 12-hour tattoo, like it was a very long tattoo. And she was like, she's like, grown men, whatever, would have tapped out. But
Right.
it's so sad because I'm just so used to being in pain that
Hmm.
even giving birth, like for me, unmedicated, which was not on purpose, it's just
Me
turned out.
too.
But I was like, because like it hurt, of course, but
Yeah.
it's like I have horrible periods, and before my period, I get so much body pain that I have to lay
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So I don't know, not that bad.
Yeah. And I think one of the things is when we first met, we talked about that. Like,
Mhm.
this is not normal.
Mhm.
That's the crazy part is like it's become our normal, but it's
Yes.
so far from normal.
Yeah.
I now have Amy, who is our national sales director. And typically, I mean, I haven't had to deal with the harshness of the symptoms for a while now. And when that happens, of course, like we just hide, right? Like it's not even hide. I think it's just you're not able to function. So what else can you do? But yesterday, one of the first times, like I usually talk to my husband, like he's really the only one when it's happening. Um, and Amy just said, "Hi, Sonia," and I was like, "Hi, Amy," like just trying to get my words out. And she knew that this is not Sonia. Like, who is this?
Yeah.
And then she said to Kapil, my husband, she's like, that's not normal. And
Yeah.
Kapil's like, we know.
Yeah.
That is so not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it becomes our normal, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for my daughter also on the weeks that I have my bad PMDD because I'm like, I wish this was the week that she was just at her dad's house because I'm so snappy and she knows because
I
she's
know.
like on my cycle now. As a mom, it's like you try to be there, but I forgot what was happening the other day. She was like asking me a question about a mango seed, and I was like, that is such a
That
stupid question. And I was like, you never tell a kid it's a stupid question, but I was
I
at
know.
peak, the peak of my PMDD, and I was like, I'm sorry, Valentina, it's that week of the month. Sometimes, if I'm having a bad attitude, just don't talk to me for like 30 minutes and let me just lay down and get over it. Because it is the opposite of personal. I'm just in so much pain that everything
Yeah.
is irritating.
Exactly. You're in so much pain.
Yeah.
And so even with the relief, like even with topicals and the CBD, I really do think that like our systems are so hyper-regulated
Mm-hmm.
during this time. And I don't think it's now that I'm going through what I'm going through without ovaries and still getting a period, it really goes to show me that it's not just the reproductive system that's involved. I really do think that there's something to do with the adrenals and like, as I'm looking into it now more
Yeah.
because it's so not normal.
Also one of the reasons that antidepressants or anxiety medication doesn't work for people who have PMDD. Like it might work the rest of the month, and then those 2 weeks it doesn't work. So for me,
Exactly.
I've chosen not to take them because I'm like, it's the when I really need it, it's not going to work. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
and then you just end up having to take more. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why am I taking more when it's not really helping me during that time? So CBD actually helped me really tone down a lot of the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
But the pain as I got older was just, it was bad. Like it got really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Um, but I think to your point though, do you feel like um it's like somebody else shows up for a few weeks that's not you, but you're
Oh,
aware of it, but you
totally.
have no control over it?
Totally. It doesn't feel like myself at all. I feel like if I was actually sometimes during the PMDD, I'm traveling, I'm outdoors, I'm doing other things, and then I feel a little bit closer to my normal personality. But if I'm trying
Yeah.
to do like my normal life and
Yeah.
my normal self can't show up for my normal life. Like these are the weeks I
Right?
really need to be picking berries and like at a beach. Do you know what I mean? And
I
just like have
know.
someone cook for me because then the stress, I think it's also just being a modern woman
Yep.
and like the stress that comes along with that. Like our body is not doing what our cycle wants it to do. It's like I'm doing a 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 or whatever it is. And my body's like, this is the week where I told you to sit the fuck down.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. But I think there's something to be said about, for me, it was, and I think as we get older, as the hormones kind of, settle down and everybody's different. But I think that physical intervention for me was really important. And I think for anybody with PMDD, because if it wasn't that, I would still be having these long-winded, like 2, 3 weeks of these symptoms. But since
Mhm.
I've had surgery, it literally is only when I get this random period.
Okay.
Other than that, it's been normal, like, like no pain, no period for the most part, and none of those symptoms.
Wow.
So I think that surgery really turned things around for me. Um, and of course, like, I've been asking for this surgery for over 15 years.
Wow. So when were you
The-
diagnosed with PMDD? Because you said you've had it for 25 years, but did you know what it was at first, or was it being misdiagnosed or dismissed?
Dismissed. I mean, even after I was diagnosed, it was being dismissed.
Hmm.
Because I had one physician about right before COVID tell me I was pretty much needing psychiatric help,
Hmm.
which I thought was really interesting. coming from a gynecologist. And and I said to her, I said, with all due respect, but she's also the same physician that told me that she refused to do an oophorectomy, which is the removal of your ovaries, um, because she read that if she was to induce menopause at my age, I think maybe at that time, early 30s, mid 30s, that I would lose, there would be a 10% chance of,
10% shorter life expectancy.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
So instead of living to like 90, you would live to 80 if you got
Yeah,
the
right,
ovaries removed.
right.
Interesting.
But I said to her, I'm already not living for 50 to 75% of the month.
Yeah.
You're 10%. Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a.
Yeah.
And I remember just bawling in her office, like just crying because I felt like she was my last hope.
Hmm.
And after that conversation, I had a conversation with my husband and I said to him, I was like, listen, like, I'm done. Like, I cannot deal with this anymore. Like, if I have to even think that I'm gonna keep getting sick like this every month, I'm gonna look into, I know there's a flower in Hawaii that I can get, and I know
Hmm.
that it'll help me just and we had this conversation. Like, it was, I think it was easier for me because I was so done
Hmm.
physically and mentally, because there was no amount of like going back from that at
Yeah.
that point, because I thought my last hope, like, that was it.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and nothing happened. I still had PMDD. We went through all of the motions of running Nature Mary and doing my best, showing up when I could. I even had a couch at work because that's where I crawled myself to sleep during work hours if I got there. Um, but fast forward to right after COVID, I found this surgeon that was like, enough. I think this suffering is pointless. And yeah, he agreed to do the surgery a couple of years ago.
And
And
was the reluctance because the fact that you were still in childbearing years, or was there like a danger involved in it? I'm trying to figure out what the reluctance is really.
it really, I think, is just based on just that if you are in an induced menopause state, your bones, your heart, it's the typical symptoms of menopause, but except earlier.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
but for someone like me and you, where, okay, I'm not having any more children. I remember this one physician before the last one, she was like, "Oh no, we have to speak to your husband to make sure that he's okay with it." And I remember saying to her, like, my husband is beyond okay with what I choose. This is my body.
Yeah.
And so it was just, and I think that dismissive cycle just kept going and going. And I was done after that last one was like, oh no, I'm not going to do this because, there's a 10% chance that you're going to die sooner. It's just like, okay. So
Oh,
at one point I thought, okay, well, let me go to Mexico, let me go figure something else out. But then after COVID hit, there was nothing happening. Like, I mean, I just knew that I just kind of had to deal with it. Um, but throughout that time, I still kind of kept tinkering with like caryophyllene and like other terpenes, and they've really helped me.
you talked a lot about the mind body connection and like how I guess through this process of making the product, talking to doctors, you're learning more and more about yourself. But how do you feel like the stigma is? Because I know you talked about your mental health and the doctor saying you had to go to the psychiatric ward, and we're such like wellness people, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like the wellness community and the mental health community like don't always agree on what's like breath work is not going to help me to get through this. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, what do you feel like are some of the stigmas that maybe stopped you from getting help before?
Um, for me, honestly, my entire life when this stuff was happening every month, I mean, I don't know about you, but it sounds like you've had it too. You go into some pretty dark places
Mhm.
with no control. Um, and because my normal self, I don't think that way. I would never react to things like. Um, but I knew that there was something that earlier on with my nervous system that I was, no amount of breath work was going to help, even though I tried, no amount of alkalinity or like any of those things. Um, but now that I've had this surgery, I for sure know that it is a physical thing. Like, it is physical. I do believe that the brain is a powerful, powerful tool, but I think particularly now knowing what I know, um, the brain's like the secondary messenger in this disease. Your primary is like your reproductive organs, and then if we can shut one part off, the brain has less to respond to. And that's really ultimately what I think PMDD comes down to is trying to figure out how do we balance both. Um, but there's no cure. I mean, there's nothing out there right now that I could say like, hey, take this and do this. And for sure, like we won't have PMDD because even after getting my ovaries out, and if I'm this outlier, I don't know. I don't know. There's only what 6% of us in the world or something that really have this brain that is a little different.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching a few videos just about the GABA receptors and how if you have a lack of progesterone, for some of us, this is what causes PMDD.
Yeah.
I mean, you basically go into like even below a depression state. And so it's really interesting to me that we're learning so much, but like you said, there is no magic pill, and maybe someone's working on one, but think about all the lack of funding in women's health research. I'm like, maybe in 5 years, it'll be like a pill that you can take for 2 weeks a month that'll help with PMDD. And it's not ashwagandha. It's something
Yeah.
that really works. So
Yeah.
that is really, because yeah, I am also sober. So for me, like the maximum thing I can take is CBD. Like I know some
Hmm.
girls also smoke cannabis during this time or they do edibles and they say it helps, but I can't do that. And I'm
Yep.
not going to be drinking wine to try to feel better. So I
Mm-mm.
actually have to figure out a solution.
You know, again, valid. I don't think there is one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think the physical intervention is needed. That's for sure. Because I've heard, I mean, women have, I mean, just tell it's the same symptoms. It's a spectrum. It goes from one, some people don't have it as bad, but I've never heard someone with PMDD just be like, oh, it's okay. I'll just, I've never heard that coasting mentality with anybody with PMDD because I think even on the lower end of the spectrum, it is severe. It's bad.
Yeah.
Um, and I think as we get older, I don't know what else to suggest, but like I'm living proof that this surgery, I mean, works. But then I've also read papers where people have had the surgery and then symptoms come back, which I kind of feel like I'm dealing with now in a weird sense.
Mhm.
But I would do that surgery again. Like, I mean, if tomorrow they were like, oh no, you have these symptoms and here's your choice, I would do that surgery for
Yeah.
sure
Oh my
because
God.
it's changed my life.
Is this something that you talk about with your brand, like with Nature Mary and with some of your customers? Like, are some of your customers people who suffer with chronic pain, or is it also people who are coming for, more of the emotional support that terpenes can give them, or like the
Yeah.
wellness part of it all?
Yeah, with Nature Mary, it's more like chronic pain.
Mhm.
Because one of the side symptoms of PMDD is rheumatoid arthritis, and menopause is arthritis.
Mhm.
So with Nature Mary, we're more focused on like the broad range of chronic pain. And to be honest, when I talk about PMDD, I feel like women usually they're checked in, but they don't really understand the severity. So I get a lot of, "Oh my God, poor you," which I don't care for the poor you, It's like that's not what we're talking about. We're about PMDD. But they understand PMS, but it's rare that if someone doesn't have it or if they don't know someone that has it, they have no idea what I'm even talking about. Quite often, actually, when I'll do like talks and things like that, like I'll have one or two women. Either I've had women crying, and then I'm like, oh my God, what did I say? Did I offend you? And they're like, no, but I think my daughter has this, and we've gone through the same journey. So then it resonates with them, like, oh my gosh, this sounds like this is what this person has. Or so we've helped quite a few girls that way, just from me being in the right place at the right time and talking about it.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times they can't even get a diagnosis.
When you go into the doctor for birth control, I think that's also one thing is like
Um,
sometimes you mask it for a long time and then maybe you get into a partnership later or you have a kid and you get off birth control and then all of a sudden like you have this new surprise personality. And
yep.
I even have, my younger sister who's non-binary and they have PCOS found out at 22 years old, but there's a lot of now studies coming out too with young people who have gender dysphoria and PCOS and all these other issues where PMDD is such an underlier to all of this.
Yes. Even to autism.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy and it's like, okay, we need to come at this from a holistic approach, which is why I wanted to talk to you and kind of just
Yeah.
get this out there for people to know because none of these things are bad, but we need to know the origin of them because if it's something that you want to deal with, that mental health is something that you want to get in check, then you
Yeah.
need to know what's going on with your body first and foremost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think even having that support, right? Like
Mhm.
empathy is one thing or sympathy is one thing, but I think when you're living with a condition that affects you and you know it's going to happen again, it's like this time trap that you can't get out of
Yeah.
no matter what you do. And so I think having a strong support system where people are not just dismissing your symptoms, telling you you're crazy or just ignoring you, um, but just being there. And I find that really actually helps because the mind then is like, oh, okay, I'm not totally by myself. I'm not independently dependent just on me, but I have this support system that really understands what I'm feeling or what I'm going through. And for you, like I said, like I mean, for me, it's like I what I call hiding, because that's what we do, right? Like I don't want the world to see me at my worst.
Yeah.
I want them to see me at my best. Um, and so that's why in talking to you today, it took so much for me to be like, I'm gonna be okay tomorrow. I'm gonna be able to put my sentences together, and it's Val. She's gonna understand.
Question that I want to ask you specifically about your relationship now with physicians and doctors and what you would recommend to someone who thinks they're going through PMDD. Because for me, it's just been, hounding them over and over and over until I got
I
someone to
know.
finally have enough things on my chart so that I could get a proper diagnosis and basically get the referrals that I needed. But how did you go? How would you suggest someone go through that process?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I think our stories are so similar, and there's so many other women that also, even without PMDD, kind of have a very similar story. It, um, I think just knowing that they are going to tell you that you're crazy because this is a dysphoric disorder.
Mhm.
So part of that is dysphoria. You're not yourself, you're somebody else.
Mhm.
Um, but just know that if you believe that you have PMDD and you're cycling and this is happening like cyclically month over month, um, you have to go to advocate for yourselves when you're at your best. Know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then I think also asking your doctor right off the bat, what do you know about PMDD? Or
Mm.
what do you know? Or have you had other cases? Like, because for me, my physician, the last guy, he had been in practice for almost 30 years, and he said he'd never seen anybody like me.
Wow.
And as much as we want to fault the system is created. So now we have to figure out how do we maneuver within this.
Yeah.
And I'm a biologist. I am a neuroscientist, and I was begging these gynecologists to help me because I was there as a patient, not a healthcare like worker. And so, yeah, no, I think the best way is to understand what you have and advocate for yourself and move through them quickly. If you feel that after your first visit, they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know, and maybe and whatever," they're just don't. Don't
Yeah.
don't bother. Don't bother trying to explain to them why you should because I think and that's part of that support that I'm talking about is without that support or you don't even feel heard. And then our brains are probably going to process that, especially when you're going down as like the worst case scenario anyway. And why put yourself through that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been through that enough and sounds like it you have too.
Yeah, I think it's also so smart to ask your doctor if you feel like you have endometriosis, if you feel like you have PMDD, hey, how much do you know about this? Because we know how
Exactly.
medical school is. They just very quickly glance over things. And I mean, they're learning to diagnose disease, but if it's not one of the main diseases,
Yep.
then it's hard. You know what
Or
I
it's
mean?
not their body part.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another good one. Oh, I don't deal with that. It's not my body part. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
So why are we breaking up the entire body when it's holistic, the way everything works?
Exactly. And also like, for menopause, for example, it's a reproductive issue, but it's a neurological condition too,
Mm,
just like PMDD.
yeah.
It's both. And so, for there has to be an amalgamation of the two when really trying to help patients. And I don't think that exists right now because it's either you're prescribed, antipsychotics for the dysphoric part of it, and then opioids for the pain.
It's not a holistic way to think about it. I mean,
No.
I love what you're doing with your company. I love the way that you're speaking out and just being honest. It's something that I need to also talk about more, I think, online because I think women are just, they're sitting in their rooms, they're crying themselves to sleep, or they don't
Yeah.
understand why they're crying at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we need the information to be out there. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. This is going to help so many people. And I mean, tell us where we can find more about your company and yourself.
Yes. So you can check us out, naturemary.com. We're sold nationally in Canada, online and in retail, and maybe in the States soon. I don't know. We'll see. But also globally in like other countries like Dubai and China, and really making, that wave globally because I think it's important to tell people that we have this beautiful system that can help us every day, and it doesn't have to be dependent on cannabis. You're probably already having terpenes and just not enough of them.
Yeah, I know. There's so much to learn about the human body. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, Val. Thank you.